Hello, everyone. This is Nanda. Welcome to Nanda's house. And I've had a busy day. It's been one of those days where it's a huge learning curve. Um, I put up a video yesterday, which I just reloaded today, and it was about canning the tomatoes that I had froze over the summer when they became ripe. And I everything was segmented and I needed to stitch it together. And I Googled how to stitch these things together. Now, I had done it before, but I was looking at something maybe a little bit different. And I tried this app. I'm not going to say that I don't remember the name of the app. I stitched it together. It was difficult to stitch them together. And when I uploaded it and I looked at the video, because everything is portrait on my phone instead of landscape, I did not like the end result at all. And last night at 8, 9 o'clock, I wasn't going to deal with it anymore. And I left it up there. And then this morning, I'm like, I wonder if I think Adobe has one. And that's one I ended up using today. And I reloaded everything up. I got it stitched together, ended up with a circle of death. Love the circle of death. And so then, after I had the circle of death for about 2 hours, I actually sat down as I was drinking my smoothie and uploaded each individual clip individually. And I waited for it to download button to come up, and I added the next segment. And that process took me about a half hour to do, and created a thumbnail. Such a learning curve with this YouTube thing. Created a thumbnail, and then I uploaded all that, deleted the not so good video. It's the same content, just I didn't like the way it looked. And so the new content is up there about canning the frozen tomatoes. I like the end result much better. And I was thinking about that in the days beforehand, when I was younger, say high school, early 20s, when I was going to college, um, maybe even longer than that. I had the propensity that when things got to be challenging, I would look at the end product and go, yeah, that's good enough. And, or as a friend of mine used to say, yeah, ship it, it's close enough. And I would always have teachers and professors talk about having pride in your work, and I could actually do better. I could have, if I wasn't so lazy when I was younger, I could have done better. Uh, but I just didn't have the motivation to do better. And how I would have just let this go. And then when I think about it, as I got older and I became a teacher, and I realized that the content, whether it was a worksheet or whatever, what I was putting out there was really a reflection of me. And sometimes I didn't like that reflection. And I would go back and I would uh, do it over or fix something, add something. I would do something else to make it a little bit better, the more of a reflection of me. And I know that my husband complains about this all the time. He is an auto technician, and whenever they get a new technician that likes to cut corners, he gets so upset about the technician wanting to cut corners. He works on high end cars. I'm not going to say the brand. He works on high end cars. And his customers, who have spent a lot of money for these cars, don't really want to take it into the dealership to have it fixed, to have a job that was really only half done. Now, for regular garages, I guess that would work. Maybe I wouldn't be taking my car back if I knew that there were still parts that came off my car that didn't end up back on my car. Uh, but there is an expectation that when you do something, it is done correctly, and everything that I have originally is still on my vehicle. Um, but not everybody wants to do that, and I can't say it's the younger generation. I really can't, because I had this same mentality in the 70s and 80s. Um, I really don't know. I don't know if it was something that I grew up with, because I remember my grandmother and my grandfather saying things about having pride in yourself, and how you looked and your appearance. And I really thought that that concept was overrated, because it didn't really matter what type of clothes I wore. I was still me. I was still Stephanie. I still was that same person. Now, there have been a lot of times that we have gone out to buy something, and we're wearing the clothes that we wear around the house. We're, maybe not ripped up clothes. Once they're ripped up, they're gone. And we're not doing that. But we don't look like the type of client that can shell out this kind of money. Case in point, I remember a time when my husband wanted to upgrade a snowmobile, and we went to our local snowmobile place, and he was looking for something, and they had in the back room, I forget what he was looking at. Doesn't really matter. It's not the point of the story. And they had in the back room this beautiful Skidoo 2-Up. It was white. It was the right color because he really likes white. And it had all the bells and whistles on it. It was absolutely beautiful. It was used. It was just brought in, and it had a lot of oomph to it. The person that owned it before, the guy bought it for his wife, so she could take the kids around, and I could see how it really just had too much power for that. Well, my husband at the time wanted to write a check for this snowmobile. And we arrived at the snowmobile dealership in this old Saturn that he was fixing, trying. I think my son Andrew ended up with that Saturn, but we ended up in this old Saturn. We dressed like we normally do around the house, and his credit card, because he had had problems with his credit card, not his credit card, his debit card, because he doesn't have a credit card. That's a whole other story. His debit card didn't go through because there were fraudulent charges on his debit card. So he sends me home to get his checkbook so he can write a check for this snowmobile. And he overhears the salesperson talking to the finance person, like, I don't know. I don't think they have the money for that. They look what they drove up in this old Saturn. Their credit card, their debit card was denied. I keep saying credit card. Their debit card was denied. I really don't think they have that. And the finance manager said to him, for kicks and giggles, I went and I ran the credit bureau on each one of them, and they have excellent credit. I suggest you try to sell them more. And the tone of this sales rep changed completely. And it's not the first time this has happened, because we bought other things where they run our credit report and they find out that, yeah, we are able to buy what we're running to buy. And so I'm sitting on a Can-Am, a motorcycle, because I don't believe I had my motorcycle yet. I don't know, but I was sitting on a Can-Am. And he goes, I could really put you into that Can-Am. It's only such and such amount of money. And I'm like, no, thank you. We're only here for the snowmobile, because I really didn't like the Can-Am. I'm not sure. Honestly, I know people who drive Can-Ams and they love them. And I know with having MS, being on 3 wheels is a great thing. But I'm not sure I'm all in at this point. The motorcycles are another story. But the point being is that what you put out is a reflection of yourself. And being able to take some pride in your work, in your craftsmanship. I mean, I really have a lot of people around me that are in the trades. And there is a certain amount of craftsmanship that they wanted, not only from their students, because I worked at a vocational school, not only that they wanted from them for their students, but also for themselves. And I noticed that not in all cases, but there are students that just had a certain energy about them. I mean, they might not always take some, do things quite right, um, because, they're 17, 18 years old. They're done with a project, they're done with it. They want to move on to the next thing. But you can tell the difference in the people that take pride in their work as opposed to people that just kind of blow it off. You know. So, is it fair? No, not really. But think if you're having a front porch put on and the person that you hired says, "Yeah, that's good enough." And the porch isn't up to standard. It's you're paying all this money for lumber and his time, and it really isn't what you expected. Are you going to really recommend that person to somebody else? I wouldn't. Not if I had to totally go and redo the porch because, oh, I don't know, it just didn't hold up or hold up to what I needed it to do, or maintain the specs that I needed. I don't know. Some food for thought. I guess having dialogue, I could really go into this. It's kind of difficult to talk just to myself on a phone about perception and who you are and what you want to be. The great example of this is my first husband. My first husband grew up extremely poor. And when I married him at 18, he said, by the time I'm 30, I'm going to be a CEO of a major company. And because I was never raised with the paradigm of putting of goals and putting thoughts out there and having them manifest in your life, I was like, yeah, sure. Now, he was pretty darn close by the time he was 30. And I tell you, he is the success story. Kudos to him. He deserves everything that he has. He went to Penn State for his bachelor's degree and his master's degree. He's been all over the world doing his job. Doesn't really say what his job is, but I don't care because I'm not married to him anymore. Uh, but he's done very well for himself. And it comes from having that pride in his work and having a goal in mind and knowing where he wanted to go and knowing how he wanted other people that were important to him to perceive him. So for today, that's my thought, that how you portray yourself is how people are going to perceive me and or perceive you. And that's important. It just depends on how much importance you want on it. All right. Nanda's out.